Pinterest boards let people organize all of their pins around different ideas, interests, and plans. They can also be an important part of your blog's identity on Pinterest because boards show people what your blog is all about and what kind of content you offer and even what inspires you. There are two different ways to approach boards. One as a source of distribution for your content. Like I showed you in the previous lesson, you needed to have a board to be able to upload a pin. The other approach is as a destination in and of itself, a place where people can go to explore a particular topic. And this is where, like I said, you use a combination of your content and other content that you think is valuable to your audience. Using this strategy, people can pick and choose which boards they want to follow. It's easy for them to follow just the ones they're interested in. So that means if someone's interested in following your board, they're interested in seeing what gets added to that board. So to make the most of it, make sure you keep adding pins to your boards regularly so that people who follow get a steady stream of new pins to discover. And you don't need a ton of boards either. Just focus on the ones that really apply to your blog and your audience and that you can update thoughtfully. Let's look at the two different types of boards that you'll find in Pinterest. There are personal boards and group boards. Now, even if you have a business account, the first type are still called personal. It just means that only you can pin to them. These should be the primary focus of your Pinterest efforts. The group boards are a way to collaborate with other bloggers and appeal to a wider audience, and they can have multiple contributors. Now, in a moment, we'll go into Pinterest and I'll show you how to set up your personal boards, but first let me give you just a few guidelines. You want to make sure that your boards are relevant to your blog. So let's say that you're a food blogger, but you got married a couple years ago when you first started your Pinterest account, and then you converted that account to a business account. Well, now wedding information isn't necessarily relevant to your current blog. So I'll show you how you can make those boards secret if you don't want to lose the information, but you don't want to show them to the followers of your cooking blog. You're going to want to have a blog board. So it can be the name of your blog or it can be best of and the name of your blog. And this will serve as a repository for your pins. So you'll want to have one of each of your pins in there, and it makes it an easy way to grab your pins and reschedule them. Finally, you'll want to think about your blog categories and subcategories. At a minimum, you need to have a board for each one, and probably even a few boards that can include multiple blog posts. For example, if you're a food blogger, you could have a pin for fall recipes, and that same pin could also fit on a dessert board recipe. Take a little time to map this out before you start creating your boards. Here's a great illustration of that. This is the Whole Foods Pinterest account. And if you look at some of these boards, they're meal prep, summer tips and recipes, fall recipes and inspiration, breakfast and brunch, cheers. So the point is, you could have an article that has one recipe or collection of recipes, and the pin for that could actually go in several different boards. So that's how, if you maybe only have 10 pins, you can still repin regularly because you have different boards that they can go into. And you don't put them all in on the same day. On Monday, you put a pin in this board. On Tuesday, you put that same pin in this board. On Wednesday, you might put that same pin over in this board. And then you just start over again after you get through your 10 pins. And you don't only have to have one pin per blog post. Many bloggers I know have 3 pins per blog post. So that's another way. 10 blog posts, you might have 30 pins. So now let's look at actually creating these personal boards, as they're called. This is an example of one that I have on my Pinterest account. It's my blog board I told you about. It is Best of Chicory's Travels. When you create a new board, you'll give it a title and you'll give it a description. And you can even put hashtags in there if you want. In this one, I don't have duplicates. This is the only exception to the rule. I pin a new pin that I create to this board one time. And what that does is it gives me one repository of all my pins. And when I'm looking for pins to reschedule, I can go into this board and find them, or I can go from my website and find them. So let's go back to my main Pinterest account, take a look at my other boards. And this is how you create a new board. You just click right here, Create Board. Give it a name. I already have North American RV Travel, so I'm going to do European RV Travel. You notice there's something that says keep this board secret. If you were creating a board, say you're a food blogger or a travel blogger or a lifestyle blogger, and you want to save pins from people who are blogging about bloggers because you personally want to learn more to grow your blog, you could create a board for that, and then you would just click keep this board secret. And that way people who come to your Pinterest account for your content that's relevant to your niche, they don't see these other pins, but you still can. And then you'll hit create. It tells you to save some pins to your board. You can go ahead and skip that for now, because first what you want to do is come in here and go edit and say what this board is about. And you can make it a little bit longer if you want, but that's a basic idea. You want to say what kind of board it is, so you basically just have to pick a category. Again, it gives you another option of making it secret. You want to show pins that are inspired by this board in your home feed. So that's how that home feed comes about. When you want to make it a group board, here's where you can invite other collaborators, but we don't want to do that right now. And then Pinterest obviously always gives you a few little ideas. None of them are relevant though, so you usually have to go out and search on your own. Now it's important not to get too narrow in your boards, because you want to be able to use boards that you can pin to regularly. So if I end up only being able to find 4 or 5 pins that are relevant to this group board, like I know one European RV travel blogger, but once I get through her pins, do I really have anything else to put in here? Maybe I start finding that, oh, I really didn't have enough pins. And you know what? I don't even have any of my own content to do here. But say I did want to save her pins because I plan to travel in Europe in RV one day, but I know I can't really sustain this board. That's when I go right here and make it a secret board. And it puts that little lock there to let you know. Now group boards, you can either join someone else's group board, or you can even create your own and invite other contributors. If you're looking to join someone else's group board, here are a few tips to help you decide which ones are the best. Number 1, they need to be relevant to your niche. You need to make sure that the board title is something that people are searching for on Pinterest as well. Then you want to look inside that group board at the pins. You want to make sure that content is getting updated regularly, that it really does match the title of your board, and that it's something that your audience wants to see. You also want to pick group boards that don't have too many contributors. It's really about collaboration with other bloggers, and if there are too many contributors, your content may get lost in the mix. Less than 20 contributors is ideal, less than 10 is even better, because you want to be able to work with the other users to share great content on Pinterest. This is another account. It's called Crazy Family Adventure. This is a full-time travel family. They have their main board, which is for their blog, Crazy Family Adventure. And then they have boards that are relevant to content that they produce and other things that would be interesting to people that are following them, like Family Travel Bucket List, things to do in Florida, North American travel, camping and RVing. You get the idea. Now, you know that it's a personal board, which means it's a board that only they can pin to, when you don't see a little circle under here. So what I mean by that is, let me scroll down and show you one that does have a little circle under there. This. See this little circle? That's a group board. The group board, it'll show you that there's different members, and whoever's in that biggest left part is the owner of the group board. So one way to find good group boards is to go onto a Pinterest account like this that you really like and you enjoy and you trust, and look at the group boards that they're members of, and then ask, see who the owner is, and ask to join them. So this one right here, it tells you it's about RV Life, and the owner, because you can see in the left it matches the logo up here, it is this person's. So you could ask to join it by just clicking on it. This shows you who the group members are. I'm already a group member, so I can't ask to be a member. So let's go back to another one. Here's USA Travel Tips. And this one, this is the owner of the board. Usually before you ask to join the board, you will follow the board. And then what you do is you message that person, and usually you will follow them first, and you will message them and you will ask to join their group board. So this is Why Travel Blog, and it was USA Travel Tips. And here's how you message. And you send it to Why Travel Blog. Here it is. And then down here, you just type your message, and you explain that you're also a travel blogger who's very active on Pinterest, and you would love to be added to their group board. But before you do that, remember what I said. You want to make sure that the content in it is actually relevant content. You want to see how many collaborators are. There are 49 collaborators to this board. That's kind of pushing it. You see how many pins there are. There are quite a few followers, but you do run the risk of your stuff getting lost. So all I would do is recommend that if you did want to join a board this large, that you keep an eye on your return from it and how it's performing for you. And in the next lesson, we're going to talk about Tailwind. And Tailwind has a great analytic that can actually show you how group boards are going. I actually probably would not choose to join this board. One of the reasons why I liked this one, RV Life, is because you see how many contributors there are, not counting me. There's only 5 others. But there's still a decent amount of followers. There's a lot of pins. It's regular content, but mine's not getting lost. Here's one of mine. Here's one of mine. So, and here's one of mine. So it's not getting completely lost in there. And so I find this to be a valuable group board. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about Tailwind. Tailwind is really great for assessing how well your group boards are performing for you. I also included a free link in the workbook to this lesson that gives you, it's an affiliate link of mine, but it allows you to get free access to Tailwind for 30 days and to auto schedule 100 pins. And even when that 30 days is up, you can still continue to use Tailwind for free. You just can't auto schedule anymore, but you can still use the tribes and all the other functions. So I definitely recommend you giving it a try. You could go ahead and sign up for the free account now if you wanted, and then watch the next lesson and see how to get full advantage of all the features that it has to offer.